Good morning and welcome to my living room. There might actually be a bit of an echo in here. I haven't thought about it, so I don't know what the sound quality is going to be like on camera, but the room's still kind of half empty. However, we're about to resolve some of that by putting the books on the bookcases. I am so excited, guys. I am so excited. I have been like just biding my time to put the books on these bookcases ever since I put the books on the bookcases in my office, which is a whole separate video you can watch if you missed that one. I recently moved into this house with my partner, and it's the first time I've ever had an office, so the books are kind of dotted around the house. However, we had some stuff to do in the living room before we could really start, you know, just like making it home and cozying it up. So that's all been done, and now it's time to, you know, do the books. Then we'll do the print wall, and I'm really excited about all of it. But with these bookcases specifically, the aim primarily is to get the science fiction, fantasy and horror on these bookcases, which is where the largest amount of Chris and I's book overlap is. Like that will sort of cover most of his books and a lot of my books, although I'm definitely the one with a few more physical books. However, if I could also fit on crime, detective fiction and thrillers, I would be thrilled, not going to lie. So I'm kind of keeping my fingers crossed for that. Although beyond that, I still have to find a place for litfic and poetry. Classics are going in my office because I've actually added an old glass cabinet that I had to another space in the office where I'm going to put all the classics. So yeah, and general non-fiction is on a bookcase at the bottom of our stairs. So basically what I'm trying to say is books are starting to find their homes, but until I put the books on these bookcases, which there are 3 of, I'm a little bit unclear how much more space I need or how many more bookcases I need. Like, do I even need more? I don't know. We will see. I have a feeling I might. But these, for reference, are main bookcases from Argos. They're the same bookcases that are in my mum's living room. So if you've ever watched the videos I used to film in my mum's living room, then you might recognise them. And what I love about them is they're quite shallow. So for example, we've got like a typical hardback here, and it almost comes right up to the edge. So I really like that in a space that you don't want your bookcases to jut out too much, for them not to feel too invasive, to not to take up too much space. However, in the case of my office where I ended up going with the IKEA Billies, I had a lot of like big books, like art books, history books, textbooks that are a little bit, you know, deeper than a regular hardback, so they needed deeper bookcases, and that's why I went for those in there. So both have their place basically, and I love both of them, and I'm super excited to organise these. Now I have a bit of a plan for the organisation. Like I said, primary goal is to start with science fiction, fantasy and horror. Fantasy is definitely the biggest genre we have together, so it's going to take up the most space, but within that the plan is to organise somewhat by alphabetical order of author name. I am going to split up hardbacks and paperbacks simply because I like the way it looks. I like when books are the same height on the bookcase, so I'm going to do paperbacks and hardbacks separately. Not quite sure how that's going to look yet on the bookcases and where they're going to go, but within hardbacks and within paperbacks we're going to do alphabetical order by author, unless there is a like set of matching editions that aren't necessarily all the same author. So for example, all of Chris's Star Wars books are not written by the same author, but I'm not separating out the Star Wars books, they're staying together. So I believe Chris wanted them to be organised chronologically in terms of the Star Wars universe, so they're going to stay together. Same for some other like collected editions. We're going to keep the sort of sets together, like the Sci-fi masterworks are going to stay together rather than getting mixed in with the other paperbacks. And if that's a little bit unclear, hopefully it'll become a little bit more clear as I start to put them on the bookcases. So there are caveats to the whole alphabet rule, but that's what it's going to come down to at the last sort of minute. In the end, in the nitty-gritty of it all, we're going to go alphabetical. I can't tell you how proud my father would be, although that might be overshadowed by the fact that I'm separating out hardbacks and paperbacks for no other reason than I like the way it looks. So yeah, that's the plan, and I think without further ado, it's time to just like get on with it, isn't it? Oh, and of course I have my librarian here with me to help me. If you're a Terry Pratchett fan, you'll get it. If you're not, you probably won't, but this is my little librarian, and he will obviously go with the Terry Pratchett books. And then this is his librarian in training, Clyde the Capybara. So he's training him up to also be a librarian. I haven't actually started the alphabetical portion of this video yet, but I thought I would just share some tidbits in case they're interesting about my organisation system so far. We've got fantasy going in the middle, which is already proving to be the biggest. Science fiction over here, horror over here. That's not how it's going to end up because fantasy will need to span beyond this middle bookcase, but that's just where I've been chucking it just now. I've also been putting my mass market paperbacks along the top because that just feels like a separate collection to me. I love my little cheesy, old school, like fantasy cover mass market big paperbacks, a few of which are sci-fi as well. I've probably mentioned this before, it's a bit of like an obsession I have. So I might actually put them all along the top of the bookcase because that will also clear up space in the actual bookcase itself. So that's what I'm thinking for those. And then another thing I think I should mention, because this came up in a conversation I was having with someone, is that I'm keeping YA mixed in with adult. I have separated out children's and middle grade, which is in its own section in my office. But when I'm thinking about what I want to read, whereas I might think, oh, I want to read a children's book because of the tone and the levity and everything that a children's book has, I don't necessarily think, oh, I really want to read a YA book. I might think, oh, I want to read a YA thriller as opposed to an adult thriller, but in that case I'm probably just as likely to go look in the thriller section. So for me, I'm just mixing YA in with adult. I know which is which, so that's all that really matters. And then also there are some books where it is a little bit unclear whether they are YA or adult. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. So YA is mixed in with adult at the minute, but I think that's all I have to update you on. Okay, welcome to the Can Jean Remember the Alphabet segment of the video. Specifically regarding sci-fi. So we only have about 3 shelves of sci-fi, at least at the minute, the way they're piled in. We definitely have less sci-fi than fantasy and even horror actually. Although I find in horror, you know, some of those could be like fantasy horror or sci-fi horror, but like for me the main genre of them is horror. So I think I'm just gonna alphabetize them whilst I'm here. I am going to leave some space empty because sort of here because my dad had a lot of sci-fi masterworks. That's rude. Okay. My dad had a lot of the sci-fi masterworks, and Chris and I would like to read some more of them, particularly Chris, so I plan on going through them at my mum's house because she doesn't want them during the week, and bringing some more here, which means I'm going to leave a little space because if I fill it up then I'm not gonna have space, and that would be bad. So that's the only plan there. Otherwise I'm not going to separate hardback and paperbacks despite saying I would, only because there's very few science fiction hardbacks in our collection, and then the only other subsection will be the Star Wars section. So yeah, I think it's going to stay on 3 shelves. I don't think it's going to extend past that, so just going to crack on, I guess. Also a matching set that I'm keeping together, but alphabet doesn't affect it, is my John Wyndham collection, because I love these editions. I think there's a few I'm missing. Some of his like unfinished novels and short stories and like less popular work have since been published in these editions, but I love them. They're so beautiful. is an angle. We are now at the Terry Pratchett portion of the video. I thought, since there are some sci-fi books by Terry Pratchett written with him and Stephen Baxter, a nice way to transition would be to start Terry Pratchett just after the science fiction with the science fiction ones, and then carry it on into Terry Pratchett's fantasy into the fantasy. So obviously that interrupts alphabetical order. Do I care? No. It's an alphabetical order of convenience system, if I'm being perfectly honest. So yeah, these are all of my dad's Terry Pratchett books, which are now mine, which I believe is a complete collection. We'll see if we're missing any, but yeah, I guess let's get on with it. As with my last bookshelf organising video, I have reached the point where I'm finding it all a little bit overwhelming and don't quite know what to do. But because I've done this once before, I don't feel quite as worried about it. I'm like, it all worked out last time, it'll all work out this time. Obviously not really a concern. But I alphabetised the sci-fi. I separated out the hardbacks for the fantasy, alphabetised those, I put the Terry Pratchetts down below, and now I'm debating what to do next. Like, I have this shelf here, which obviously will only fit paperbacks, it wasn't tall enough for hardbacks. I have another shelf beneath the Terry Pratchett. Do I just start the fantasy there in alphabetical order in paperbacks, bring it up to this shelf, and then skip 3 shelves before I start doing it again, and then I have this like weird break, which I've created for myself obviously by putting the hardbacks all together, but like, what would look good and what would also be useful? That's the internal debate I'm having right now. So to be perfectly honest, I'm taking a little rest. I'm sitting on the sofa, I'm eating some nuts and chocolate because it's that time of the month and I'm feeling a little bit lethargic and crampy, so you know, nuts and chocolate are the way to go. And I'm trying to debate what's the best thing to do. I haven't dealt with the horror yet, might start with the horror and then come back to the fantasy just because I can't think about it. We will see. But I thought I should share my confusion and where I'm at this stage so that when you see it and it looks beautiful and perfect, you know how we got here. Yeah, it is very exciting though. I'm very, very excited to have all the books on this bookcase. Like, it's making me really excited. It's making my home feel like a home. So yeah, I'm having a good time generally. I just want to take a quick moment here to share my biggest book gripe to have ever graced my shelves. Like, books don't all have to be the same height. Books, sometimes series change and you end up with new editions and they don't all match, and there's acceptable levels of books not matching. But what is this? Like, these are all the same. These are the matching editions of Robin Hobb's Rainwilder Chronicles. Same covers. I don't think they like are from different print runs in each series. Yeah, one of them is just like, what even is this? Like a millimetre shorter? But it's short enough that it's annoying. Like, this has always driven me round the bend. What? I have changed, as you can probably see, into basically house pyjamas because I'm feeling really tired. very low energy, although I feel like I'm getting there, so I feel really good about that. I'm also getting very sniffly and sneezy. I think there's probably a lot of dust in among these books, so that's coming up and sort of irritating me a little bit. So yeah, but like I'm in my comfies now, ready for, I feel, the last hurdle. Like as you can see, it is coming along. It is really coming along. I've started on the horror now, leaving little gaps, like I said, for some other books we know are coming. Trying to consider that for other spaces as well. But thankfully, horror, sci-fi and fantasy are all definitely going to fit on here. I feel really confident in that. The only question is whether I'll be able to fit something else on here, because I don't think I'm going to have a ton of space. I might have a shelf left, we'll have to see. Maybe 2 or maybe like 1.5 shelves, but is that enough for a whole other genre? I'm not entirely sure, so we'll have to see when we come to that. I will have an update shortly. And with that acknowledgement comes the question of where the rest of the genres are going to go. So where's crime detective fiction, lit fic, poetry, historical fiction, where's all that going to go? Because I don't know. I don't know, and I probably won't know at the end of this video either. Right, so I am done for today. I am so tired. Not just because of the books, but yeah, I'm wiped and I'm done. So as you can see behind me, we've got a pretty organised looking bookcase. And I'll do a pan over so you can see it. But started with the science fiction with some gaps for more science fiction masterworks. That only takes about 3 shelves. Then into Terry Pratchett, some just like large format fantasy. Like basically there was just a sort of based on sizing sort of criteria for what's down here. Then we go up to paperback fantasy over the top 2 rows, hardback fantasy going down, then horror, and we do have some space. Don't know exactly what's going to go in that space yet, or where the rest of the books are going to go in general. I think, like I said, did I say before that I think classics are going to go in my room? And that might still have some space left over, so it might be classics and poetry or something like that, but that still leaves me with sort of lit fic and crime, so we'll see, I don't know. And then I did actually put all of our like beautiful sprayed edge special editions on a separate little bookcase, which isn't full up, but there are at least 2 more we can't find and 2 more coming, so like 4 more books to add, and it leaves space to collect some more pretty books basically. But yeah, it's really exciting because like it feels like this room is finally going to be a finished room soon. Like we need to do the print wall and we need to rehang the curtains, but you know, we're pretty much there, and then it will be like exactly the space we want it to be, which is very, very exciting. A little bit overwhelmed that we still have a few boxes of books to deal with, but I'm not going to worry about it. It's not a worry, it's a wonderful thing to have. I'll figure it out, and I hope you enjoyed coming along on this bookshelf organisation journey with me. I feel like I didn't talk to the camera a ton, but I think it's just because I'm so tired and a little bit crampy today, and again you might be able to hear banging. This is what happens when you've moved into a new home. So yeah, I think that's all I can really say. Like I said, I'm going to do a pan over so you can get a close-up look of what's going on here. But I'm gonna go and we're gonna have dinner and then head to the cinema, so I am excited for a nice chill night, and I will edit this video and hopefully have it up tomorrow. So let me know what you think about the system. Actually, I should say this, I gave up in alphabetical order by the end when I was doing horror. Like there is no alphabetical order there, and there's no alphabetical order to some of the shelves because I was too tired. There's some alphabetical order in some places, and I can reorganise the alphabetical stuff later because at least it's in the right place. That's my thinking anyway. So yeah, let me know what you think of my bookcases. Let me know what home content you'd like to see coming up, what future content, and if there's any like specific bookish content you'd like inspired by the kind of books you've seen in this video today. Remember, I do have another bookshelf organisation video up which is dedicated to my office, and it's particularly history, mythology, folklore, romance and children's was kind of what was going on in there, so you can watch that if you haven't watched it already. And yeah, without further ado, I guess I should be off, and I will see you all again in the next one. Bye everyone.